also Fellows did a tremendous job in Gotham, in the whole committee. So I'm very delighted because definitely the conference increased in quality, in the number of attendees, and in repercussions in social media, etc. So thank you so much. And Audi and Kevin and Nicola will say a few words later on about it. So thank you. Also, we launched the first case competition on emerging markets. Actually, Audi got the case. He's a consultant. He will always be a consultant. So he wrote a tremendous case that was a company entering China in all the challenges. So I'm very grateful. And now we have to write an equally excellent case for this year. So that's a major challenge. Audi, you put the bar very high. And the third major achievement this year was that for the first time, the program becomes a concentration. It's the first concentration. We have other concentrations, and being Vishal board wants to increase the number of concentrations, but we were the first one, so you graduate with a concentration on emerging markets. And of course, we had to do everything in-house, and thank you so much to the program coordinator, Babatunde Dayan, for those who did all the auditing. So definitely a major achievement. So we also published the report. We also launched this year the first Alumni Day, the first Research Day. At the Alumni Day, the capstones of this year, some of them, Zach and his team, did an excellent evaluation of our digital marketing. And definitely the digital marketing, we have a lot of homework to do. Thanks, Zach and your team, because your proposals were excellent. So then, and we publish online, not yet, but in printed copy, all the capstones from last year. So we had cases from Jumia in Africa, cases from how to use cryptocurrencies and improve farming conditions in Africa, and others, and they are published. So again, a major achievement regarding research, and I'm very happy that you all helped. And this year also, we are victims of our own success. So we have had a number of interns from Colombia, and this time we had 80 applications almost, and we have here 5 of them. Please get up, and they are going to be helping us. So then let me start the program, and by starting the program, we have Dean of Faculty, he's Dean of Faculty at Johnson, and about to become Dean of Faculty for the whole College of Business. He's my boss, and he was the founding director of EMI. So you have the vision to launch it at Johnson, and I just had the easy job to try to keep up with what you started. So thank you so much for coming today. Thank you.
Should I stand here?
Yes.
Can you hear me okay? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Congratulations. What a great day, huh? And the sun is shining on us to remind us about the celebrations. Can I just start by saying how proud I am and pleased I am to be working with somebody like Lourdes Casanova, who runs this Emerging Markets Institute. I'm just in awe listening to all the lists of new innovations and programs and activities. And congratulations to you and Babatunde. I know you can't do it without him, and he can't do it without you. So I think it takes a team. It takes a team, doesn't it? It takes a team. And I'm sure you've learned some things. Lourdes asks me to stand before you to maybe just remind you from where we have come and maybe the legacy that you will be carrying forward with this designation of the EMI Fellow. So 10 years ago, I arrived, and one of the mandates that the dean at the time put before me and others was that we wanted to reaffirm and recognize formally the importance of globalization and global activities and global programming, global research that is clearly brewing everywhere. But yet, Johnson wasn't celebrating it. It was sort of happening, but we didn't know it. And certainly the world didn't know it. And so we thought in many ways about how to do this. And it was pretty clear early on that we didn't want something generic that many other universities who are doing similar kind of good things were doing. What we wanted to do was to recognize something special and unique that we believed we could have a comparative strength with. And hence we developed this concept of an institute for the study of emerging markets. And as we crafted it, we wanted to recognize the three pillars on which this was going to be built. So clearly one of them was scholarship and research. We're a university. Professors are doing research. And it was very important that we create resources for the faculty who are to encourage those who are already doing some and to be a catalyst for them to do more, but also to draw some of our colleagues in who were not yet thinking about the importance of doing research on emerging markets, to bring them into the fold. And so we did that for a number of years. Now Lourdes carries this forward, this legacy, this part of the legacy forward, with these annual research reports. The founders of the EMI never thought about that. The brilliant person who came in thought of this. And what I love about that, Lourdes, and everybody should hear this, is that you are truly broadcasting to the world. These are important topical issues, whether it's the challenges of China entry into large developed markets, the United States, all the challenges and constraints and opportunities that stem from that, to all the others, to on emerging market multinationals as they go wherever they go. So this, it's evolving, but this research stream is an anchor. It's like one of the three legs of the chair has to be there. Outreach was the second leg. And this is the kind of ways in which we talk to the world. We had these brilliant conferences. So we started very small, but Lourdes, Professor Casanova, to her credit, has formalized these wonderful conferences. You were there in November? Many of the EMI Fellows. It was sort of a mandatory high table event. You had to be there and to be part of it, but we wanted you to be part of it. And then she came up with this brilliant idea to make you integrally part of it by having this case competition. Well, there aren't very many places that are doing emerging markets focused case competitions. And then the third part of it, where she's really taken it to the next level, to her credit, and Babatunde's credit, I should include both of you in this, was in terms of the engagement with the students. So can I tell you, this is about as far as we got. Very early. We created the Fellows program. She's taken it to the next level. Here's what we thought about the Fellows program. What we thought about as those that started this off was that these students that would be part of this program would immerse themselves into the kind of unstructured thinking that is organic and natural for businesses that have to go into incredibly complex environments, institutional environments, with respect to not only difficult but uncertain regulatory frameworks, right, and ever-changing in unpredictable ways, frameworks. My buddy here, Roberto Canazares, who's going to speak to you, is laughing because he knows this very well as a professional in this business. But dealing with uncertain political and economic environments, difficult infrastructures with which you take business into these settings, difficult and complex legal systems where there's dispute resolution, that there are uncertainties as to how this will evolve, to operational inefficiencies. We wanted students who were MBA students that knew the fundamentals and understood it, but could basically take their fundamental learnings into the most complex environments for decision making that you could possibly imagine and be comfortable with. That's what we call them sort of the Navy SEALs of the MBA program. And I'm sorry, we actually use that nickname. You are the Navy SEAL. It's a kind of an American flavoring for that. But think of it's the red team in an organization that has to do with the most incredibly complex settings within which to affect a transaction. And I wanted to share that with you because that's what I think you have become. And that's what the program is that we're celebrating here today has developed. So to you, I hope that you take these learnings and experiences and you take them forward, and you are, in fact, that. You are going to be the red team that your organizations rely on when you're dealing with complex environments. And you come back and tell us the things that you are so glad you learned, and also help us to continue to improve the program, to remind us of the things that we still yet need to teach and infuse our students with. So once again, congratulations. Thank you so much for being a part of Johnson, and thank you, Lourdes, for giving me a chance to say a few words.
Thank you so much, Dean Anticaroli. We have here with us the Dean of the MBA program, Michelle Gore, and I would like to invite you to say also a few words to the recently or about to graduate tomorrow students. The first time we do the concentration, thank you very much, because that's a promotion. The program has been...
Yes, because of what you heard first. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the parents and the families who are in the audience, and congratulations to our graduates. And we're really proud of the work that you do as EMI Fellows and as students in the school, and looking forward to working with you as alumni. I have a few things to mention as the MBA Program Associate Dean. The EMI Fellows Program is an important program for several reasons for the school, and it fits into the vision and strategy of the school in many different ways. So one is that this program is taken by students across all of our various degrees. So such as the EMBA degree, the Cornell Tech students, the Ithaca students, all of them are together interacting with each other through the EMI Fellows program. So it integrates the students across various things. I think that's a really important aspect of the EMI Fellows program. The second thing is that, as Professor Karoli was saying just a few minutes back, emerging markets are an important area for the school to do research in and teaching in. And for us, the excitement is mostly in the emerging markets, and it's really exciting to see this program and also to see the opportunities that it brings to the faculty and staff and students. So that's the second thing that I wanted to talk about. A third thing about this program I wanted to mention is that the EMI Fellows program has become a template for us to think about the second year curriculum. So for MBA students. So the integration of coursework, practice-based learning, and trips to foreign countries or study trips, I think those are things that can be thought about as the ingredients of any other type of curriculum as well, such as in consulting, banking, technology, etc. So this is a template that I'm trying to work on, taking inspiration from Professor Casanova, on how do we think about the second year of the MBA program. Finally, I want to mention some other innovative aspects about the EMI Fellows program. One is Professor Casanova and Tunde worked so hard to make this possible, and Professor Casanova also leads this really popular student international study trip course to Colombia. Many of you would have gone on that. I have seen pictures and liked them on LinkedIn, and really enjoyed looking at that. She was also, I think, the first faculty member to teach a course across both campuses. So the Leaders in Emerging Markets course, which is taken by students at Cornell Tech and Ithaca simultaneously with video conferencing applied to both campuses, that course is the template for a lot of things to do. So this is all extremely exciting for the topic, for the innovation in the curriculum, and the opportunities that it brings to our students and faculty and staff. So thank you very much, Lourdes and Tunde, and our alumni like Rob, who helped support the EMI Fellows Program. So we're really very grateful, and congratulations to all of you.
We were waiting for Dean Nelson, but it seems that, of course, he had the awards for the students and everything, so he may be a bit late. So maybe he will close your presentation, and then I would like to introduce to you a great alum. Is an alum from both, well, Universidad Los Andes. I think he's not alum. He's not alum from Unianz, but he has been awarded to be alum from the Universidad Los Andes in Colombia, whose president is a Cornell alum, and we do a lot of work with them. So, and we are very grateful. He's a Cornell alum. Actually, he met his wife in his building. So he's not only an alum, but emotionally extremely linked to Cornell. He's my coach, my mentor. His contribution to many of the things we do here at EMI are essential for us to continue the work that we are doing, not only financial, but most importantly, the most precious thing we have is our time. So he calls me, he says, have you done that? No, please do it. And I know I have to do it. Thank you for reminding me so many times. Actually, his son is also a Cornellian. His wife is a Cornellian. So definitely a Cornellian family. And we are very grateful. And he's going to talk to us about his great experience into international life when he was a professional. Actually, the international life continues because he calls me, he says, I'm in Rome, I'm in Hong Kong, I'm in Shanghai, I'm in everywhere in the world. So definitely a great emerging markets member of the advisory board of Emerging Markets Institute, and also from the Johnson School. So thank you so much. By the way, his plane was cancelled, and he took a private plane this morning. So that's an expensive trip for you. So thank you very much.
I need to coordinate with Tunde so we can make this work. So you'll be in charge. I'll tell you what. Okay. Well, thank you, Professor Caroli. Very formal. Professor Casanova, very formal. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Especially to share this moment of joy, celebration of your MBA as the SEAL team of the MBAs of Cornell, the Emerging Market Institute Fellows. Good afternoon to the graduates, good afternoon to the families, and congratulations to everyone. I trust that you feel as fortunate to be at Cornell, one of the best and most prominent institutions in the world, as I am. I never get tired of repeating how very fortunate and thankful my wife and I are for those 6 years at Cornell, which shaped our lives. You go to the business world to work. Many of you worked before you got here, but you return at a time when the daily headlines resonate with messages and proclamations that seem to counter the global order and international business environment of the past 50 years. Where is the world going, you might ask? Is this the right time to be in emerging markets? You might wonder. These are important and difficult questions to answer, especially in a short period of time. What can I tell you? Well, I could spend the next 10 minutes sharing with you a few anecdotes from my career that would illustrate what you already know and what Andrew so eloquently described, how EMIs are different from the US, Europe, Australia, Japan, and highlight how the business environment in the EMIs is challenging, unstructured, more volatile, less predictable, mysterious at times, intimidating at others, even frustrating, but always exciting and frequently rewarding. Or I could try to suggest to you what to do to succeed. Move abroad. Your own globalization is the accumulation of experience through different countries and positions around the world. Jump when the opportunity opens, take the risk. But you've heard of these. Or I could promote the virtues that make a career successful, like persistence, hard work, curiosity, open-mindedness, cultural sensitivity, or even humility. Humility is an important virtue, which I recently read. Indra Nooyi, who is the CEO of PepsiCo, and with whom I had the pleasure of working when she was a young consultant at BCG in Boston in the 80s, chose to highlight in a recent interview by sharing her mother's role in keeping Indra humble. She shared that her mom reminds her that despite her fame and power in her position, when Indra is at home, she should leave the crown outside. You come from a very prestigious university with tremendous intellectual power, lots of knowledge. Probably you'll go into important positions in the world. Don't forget that advice. Humility is very powerful. But I could also spend time explaining to you that I have discovered the formula for success. Success equals 1/3 preparation, which you're completing, 1/3 luck, and 1/3 perspiration, or hard work. That I'm a believer in planning because it is the best way you can improve the 1/3 that is your own personal luck. Or I could also expound on several sentences of word of wisdom and explain them, like when you are traveling in a new territory, like emerging markets, you can't expect to drive on a 4-lane highway. If you reflect on that, there are a lot of lessons. Or to remind you that your career is a series of accidents that you have to convert into opportunities. But frankly, just because these things work for me, they don't make me an authority. And you really don't want to hear long speeches from older people who may or may not be relevant today. So you have the necessary tools, the character, the drive, the leadership, the work ethic to shape your own path. And you will have the opportunity to invent and write your own success story as you go along. So instead of all those topics, which I chose not to talk about, I wish to talk about perspective. Perspective helped me stay the course in the more than 20 years as an expat during my 38-year career, during which my family and I tasted the many flavors of emerging markets, creating, building, and leading companies in 4 countries. Perspective provided the motivation and self-realization when short-term circumstances caused challenging times and raised concerns for the direction of my career. Perspective can help answer the question of why our work in emerging markets is valuable and rewarding. Let me show you an interesting view of the past 150 years, borrowing from the outstanding work of Hans Rosling, the famous Swedish professor and founder of the Gapminder Foundation, who unfortunately passed away last year. We had a volume problem.
A Cornell-Tech student working. Yeah. Yeah, should work. It's okay? Should be fine. Yeah. About the audio.
Mute is on.
No, mute is on.
The mute is on.
So remove it.
Turn that.
Mute is on.
Okay.
Let's see.
Okay, now let's see. Okay. Wow. It doesn't work.
Put it on speakers.
Yeah, maybe.
Huh? Well, let me see if I can. Maybe I can talk. I'm not Hans Rossmann, so.
Yeah.
This is a look at the world in 1850. He has taken essentially close to 200,000 pieces of data, and he has plotted 200 countries in 1860 in a logarithmic axis that has life expectancy, so it's a measure of health, and wealth in the logarithmic scale. This is income per person: $500, $5,000, $50,000. The continents: red is Asia, yellow is Europe, blue is the Americas, green is Africa. And basically what he does is he takes and he explains and shows, if I can, well, he's gone, so I don't know. How do you turn this?
Yeah, just. Yeah, okay, turn on. Okay. Thank you.
Well, he basically explains, he's explaining the axes right now. And he's basically showing that he's going to move through the years very, very fast. He calls this down here that in 1860, basically all the countries were in the poor and unhealthy corner. And he calls up here the rich and healthy and wealthy. Okay? And he basically is going to show how the data shows how the Industrial Revolution began to move these countries. The U.S. was in the lead in terms of wealth, but essentially life expectancy was very, very low around the world. And he's showing how year by year, you can see the years, 1870, 1875, how Europe began to move forward. The U.S. is also in the leading path, but how the majority of what we call emerging markets remained in the bottom corner of this diagram. And he takes us into the 1900s, and you can see that essentially what you know already, that Europe and the U.S. pretty much began, is that drop was the First World War and all the impact of it. And he's basically focusing, the yellow countries are the European countries, and then the U.S. is there. And he's taking us to about the end of the middle of the century. And he stops there, and he starts showing how the spread between what we call emerging markets, which is all here, and the developed countries has changed in about 100 years. And then he goes into, I think is he still moving forward? Yeah, he's just illustrating what the countries. So that's pretty.
Yeah, we got it, but if you want, we can get Mark to speak and then we can have the speakers.
Okay, let's see. Wait.
No, we're just finished.
Yeah.
Might as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so he continues to show how the countries in red, except for Japan, most of Asia was still down in the poor and sick corner, what do you call it? And then he says he turns the world back on in the 50s, and you see the last 50 years. Now, many of you were not born, but most of us in the front part of this building, the room we were, you can see that while Europe continues to sort of be in the lead, the U.S. is number one, and how the Asians first migrate in health by we move up this axis first, and then they begin to migrate more and more towards the wealthy axis. The diameter of the bubble, by the way, is the population. And he shows how in 260, this is sort of a quick replay to show you what happened in 150 years, more or less. Okay? And what he says is the amazing progress that has happened in such a short amount of time, especially in Asia. And then he continues, he goes into an analysis of China, which have improved quite a bit in health, but not so much in wealth, and how China in such a short amount of time, from 1980 to 2010, made an enormous amount of progress, while the US, which was in the lead, made a small amount. He says, well, then let's take a look, if we project forward, what happens. And the US in 2040 will be up here, but if China continues in the same path, China will catch up to the US. He goes on to say, well, but this is not necessarily bad. And then second, as countries get more wealthy, it's harder to maintain the same rate of economic progress. But he says it doesn't make a lot of sense to look at countries like China as one. You have to look at the provinces. So he goes through and explodes the provinces. And he shows, of course, that Shanghai is in the lead, essentially equal in wealth and health to Italy. And that the backward provinces of China are essentially in the middle of the world. The message is that this is a hopeful opportunity. There is plenty of work to do. A lot has been accomplished. But the main message is that there is a continuation of progression that is possible in the coming years. That is what is relevant to you. What happened for the last 50 years is nice history. But what is most important is what you can do to make this happen, to essentially lift the quality of life in all the countries that we are talking about. So that's pretty much it. We can turn it off and I'll continue with my speech.
Okay.
So this visualization uses abundant statistical data in a way that provides the perspective I was talking about. What an amazing progress from the poor and sick corner at the bottom of this diagram to the healthy and wealthy corner for most of the countries of the world. It's not linear. You saw that there is oscillation. It's not smooth in the short term, but unquestionably an enormous amount of progress. Now I ask you, what did you imagine is going on behind the scenes? These are the outcomes. So how did this happen? Well, I see the cumulative effort of many lifelong careers devoted to science, to medicine, to private and public service, leadership, pushing the world to improve. And I also see and draw the following important messages for your future. The careers of leaders in emerging markets are an essential element of human progress. Without leaders like you, the changes that have improved the health and wealth for the majority of the world population would not have occurred, and much less in emerging markets. Just think what a wonderful feeling to know from this perspective that all your struggles, all your creativity and your dedication and all your hard work can contribute to improve the lives of many, especially in emerging markets. Despite all the progress, this perspective also shows how much more there is left to do. There is much to do in emerging markets, and you too can choose to make a difference. So let me return to the initial questions. The headlines are not very positive, not very inspiring, but so we wondered whether this is a good time to launch a career in emerging markets. Well, my answer to you is a resounding yes. Think how rewarding it is to realize that the same effort, excitement, challenge, and fun that will make your career a success will also make the world a better place. Take the challenge, enjoy the fun, glow in your success, and feel the satisfaction of being also an agent of development. Thank you for your attention.
Inspirational speech, telling the leaders that they need to do for their own, and that way also they will contribute to the development of their countries. Thank you very much. You have done this in your career. You continue to be an agent of change to so many young students here and in Colombia and many other parts. We have just with us, thank you so much, Dean Nelson. It's a tremendous weekend for coming and to say a few words about the EMI Fellows that we do today. Thank you so much. Today, not tomorrow, sorry.
Yeah, thank you. And so how much did Lourdes say about Rob. How much did she embarrass him?
No,
Not much?
No.
Not enough.
Okay. So when you're thinking about a career and how you can really have a transformative impact on the lives of other people, it's good to have some people to model yourself after. And so one of the things I'd like to do is just talk to you a little bit about this guy. So I have notes because I can't remember everything you've done. It's amazing. So let me just read some chunks from successfully building and transforming businesses around the world. Spans more than a quarter century in emerging markets, in senior executive roles in New York Stock Exchange corporations. He's run the business, focusing on the formulation and implementation of strategy, building multinational organizations, and developing their talents towards attaining effective globalization. Okay, fair enough. But let's get into some specifics. Rob joined MSA Safety, and during his tenure as president of MSA International in 2003-2011, the international business of MSA tripled to over 55% of the total corporation, spanning more than 40 operating companies outside the United States. And before joining MSA, Rob's 28-year career at Trane, the air conditioning company of American Standard, progressed to general management through product and market management, logistics, sales management, strategic planning assignments in Brazil, in France, and the USA. He's truly a global business leader. Now at the jubilant stage of his career, in at least two ways, he advises and he mentors founders of entrepreneurial companies, lectures on management, organizational transformation coaching, and serves, really importantly, on the advisory council and the executive committee of both the Emerging Markets Institute and the Johnson School of Management's advisory council. He's a really important member of our team. He also serves as a mentor at the McGovern Incubator, as a board member of Zemtronics, and of the Craig Leah Education Foundation. Last but not least, he was recognized with the Quintanilla Distinguished Latino Award by the Johnson Graduate School of Management in 2016. As a faculty member here for about 25 years, I really appreciated our alumni. As a dean, I recognize that really successful and impactful alumni leaders are important to this school in many, many ways. They give their time, they give their treasure, but they're also an inspiration. So please help me recognize Rob, all that he's done. Really, the only other thing that I want to do, I have two things I want to do. One is to give another thank you, and that is to Lourdes. A program like this depends on leadership and sweat and love. It depends on somebody saying, this is my personal priority. Someone can get by doing a little, or they can really invest in a program, make it grow, and have students be part of something. And that's what Lourdes has done with this program. So please help me thank Lourdes for all of And finally, something I get to do a few times this weekend is for me to simply say congratulations. And EMEA and MBA, the kinds of programs that we offer are really tough in their own right. It takes an awful lot of effort to be able to get a Johnson MBA. And then to say, okay, but I want to do more. I want to really focus on something in emerging markets. And I want to engage in the programming and the network that involves. That's going above and beyond. So I salute you. I look forward to celebrating with you, not only today, but also tomorrow, maybe on Sunday. Think very soon. Do it if you can. It's really an amazing spectacle. Think maybe old gladiator movies when people are going into the Coliseum. You know, it's really impressive. So hope to see you on Sunday as well. And even though maybe sometimes it's discouraged, let's have you applaud you because you've done a great job.
With that, I will turn it back over to the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dean Nelson. It's a tremendous busy day for all of you, and definitely thank you for making time to come here. So now we are going to give the certificates, and then we'll have representatives of the both Cognosec and here in Ithaca programs to give a final remark.